Hello, everyone. This is Justice with Jax, Season 4, Episode 1. Wow, it's the year 2026. I'm your host, Jacqueline Armendariz Unzueta. You can call me Jax. And I'm proud to bring you this podcast again and another fantastic guest, returning guest, because we're here to talk about some of the case that is Armendariz versus the city of Colorado Springs, represented by the ACLU of Colorado, which is a part of my life, and it has touched others in the community. So we're trying to tell a story. And so I will say that since that case has been filed, it's been 921 days, or 2 years, 6 months, 6 days. And now we're at the point where, again, this podcast is a vehicle for telling the story of this case and how it's impacted the community. So now we have been waiting 270 days, or 8 months and 25 days, for an opinion after oral arguments in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, which were held on May 13th, 2025. So it's a whole other year, and it feels like a billion years. Wow. That's why we've got a great friend here. They're going to introduce themselves. You want to take it away?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Johnson, community member, now District 11 board member.
Fabulous. Yeah, short and sweet. This guy, he's pretty to the point. And what's really cool is that Charles is a returning guest, who appeared on, it was episode 3, season 1. And what brings us together is protest. And now our lives are geared toward actually continuing protests and being in public service. So I'm really excited to discuss that. And that feels like a good place to start, because I'm really proud of you for being elected. It is a lot, as you're aware. I am currently campaigning for El Paso County Commissioner District 5, and that's a whole other banana, we'll say, than a school board race. So let's talk a little bit about, how it's been since you have come onto the board, and also naming what the job does. And also, I think people are always curious, is this like a volunteer elected position? Hopefully you get a stipend. People need to know the truth about that. So start with any one of those, I think.
No, now being elected into the role of school board, I think a lot of people really don't necessarily understand what actually goes on the board. For us, it's, pretty much we're setting policy to the structure that gets done in the day-to-day task for educators, students in our community. So whether that's through our curriculum, through our budget, through renovations and maintenance of buildings and upkeep, we pretty much, set the policies and roles of how we think a district should be ran, and the superintendent implements that in his best way possible with his admin team and what we have with resources. And so that's kind of the 1, 2, 3 step, I guess, of what a school board member does. But it definitely goes more into engaging with community and talking with teachers and hearing from your students and colleagues around you about what they might want to see better, what we can improve on, and, learning from other districts that might be doing something different that we're not thinking of, and how can we implement that going forward. And most school boards range from numbers from 5 to 7. Our district currently has 7 board members. And so a majority vote is usually 4 out of the 7. So it's pretty critical and very transparent that you'll have different opinions about how things should be approached and how that gets solved. And so I think the transparency and dialect is a big thing that also comes with that position, even though it is volunteer. And you did talk about stipends as well. So this last board before us getting elected actually wrote a policy about paying board members a decent compensation for their time.
A living wage, or
not
exactly
living. Not living, but definitely some compensation for volunteering their time to.
It's so much time and energy.
It definitely is. I mean, even for me, usually it's a lot of older elderly people that run for office, or people that usually have kind of wealth or establishment in their name, and
assets.
Assets. And I ran with the union, which is more of a working class labor type of action. That doesn't really come with those perks.
Deep pockets.
And
it doesn't.
And so it's definitely a different way of looking at things, and to see that they actually are willing to pay the volunteers to help look over their schools and their communities and make the investment, then I think that's a start.
I consider it a
somewhere.
positive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a start. And
I
for
mean,
me, I think it's pretty cool. I'll take
It
it.
is, yes. That's why, I mean, and let's give people more context too, because I feel like, again, it's part of the storytelling is that, you know, I did the countdown of how many days since the case is filed, and if you definitely go back, episode 3, season 1 is a good one.
Yeah.
One of the best ones of this show. And so we talk about how, you know, we are connected. And, you know, part of what we talked about is frankly, what it is, the experience that it is to feel targeted by the police force in your community. I have always been disappointed. For me, a part of that experience has been hurtful, that has been like, hey, we're your neighbors, and you're talking about like boot stomping our faces and just being really denigrating to women, to people of color, people in general. It's not what should represent our city, right? And what was always so weird about our case was that we learned that stuff through some body camera footage that kind of like on a technicality they wouldn't release. And if you remember, I know you do because your lawyer was an important part of it, they were trying to suppress it, and we were always asking why. And then in my case, when it got released on a technicality, we were like, oh, that's why. Can you share the experience of having had that like pressure in your community and people even, you know, bringing it up while you're running for office, right?
I was actually going to bring that up, but you kind of put that
good
on
segue.
the spot. And so they actually used a lot of that past actions and lawsuits to denigrate my character.
Prosecutions, right? We were
running,
targeted. And it was unfair.
And they used a lot of that as their mailers, actually, of my mug shots. And they called it a rap sheet, actually, at that time.
Wow.
And so they were basically, you know, trying to put out everything that was in
painfully
the case.
On brand for Colorado Springs.
And then putting my face out there saying that, you know, I'm a radical leftist and that I shouldn't deserve to be on the school board, you know. And this went in mailers all over the city. I even had like neighbors that would come up to me and show me like, hey, is this you? Like some people even thought it was AI.
Oh,
like,
well,
to the fact,
yeah, that's a good
point.
point.
And so it was interesting to see people's reactions. And I think nothing less than when it originally happened, I think the support was always there. I mean, even more along this time when people that didn't even know who I was, just
so
being a
glad to
person
hear
running, people that came from many different beliefs and backgrounds, you know.
D11's so big, right? Is it the biggest district?
Not anymore. We're third.
Okay.
We're the third largest, but I think we're still one of the OG original districts of Colorado Springs. I think
Covers
we still kind of
the
have
city. Yeah.
I think we still have that reputation of being the brand of Colorado Springs, maybe not in numbers, but still the longevity I think still holds. And it was just interesting to see many people from different walks of life and in the city to come behind me, didn't even know their names, they didn't even know me, but to say this is wrong and like this is
to really see you.
And to say like I've met this guy in person, he's nothing what this mailer says, and
this is a lie.
You know,
this is a lie.
And people even brought up, like a lady brought up in the comments a lot when I had to, like, you know, share my point of like what actually was going on and share the truth. Like she was like, don't be ashamed about this, because there was people that were doing a lot worse than what than what I'm doing, that have been around longer than I've been born, you know. And so
totally.
I mean, seeing what's happening now federally and a lot of the files that
Epstein
are happening.
files,
so it just goes to show, you know, we make mistakes, but it's in the right direction, I think, of making change. I think a lot of people see that situation. I mean, even with what's going on now in our schools across the nation with people doing walkouts, you know, with a lot of the ICE situations that are going on. We've even had stuff in our district that have gone on, you know, and students have felt, you know, the passion to speak what they believe is right and what's going on.
And take action, right? Because that's the walking out part. And, you know, I so appreciate you being able to share that, because I think from my perspective, a part of it too is like, I don't know that we made any mistakes other than being the people who were speaking out that day on a certain issue, right? It was housing as a human right, which years later now I'm, that is for me the number one pillar of my campaign, working on the spectrum of that at the county commission level. And so, I mean, I think a good question too is, do you consider, it's a dark joke. I'll go there. But do you consider the element of, frankly, the way I look at it is we were called leftist domestic terrorists by the police before it was cool, because, now if you're at a No Kings protest, you could be labeled as a domestic leftist terrorist, which is ridiculous.
I think the parallel of what happened then compared to now, I think, is a reality to a lot of people, because I even told people,
I really hope it is.
when they did put out the mailers, I told people, I was like, it was honestly worse when it actually happened compared to now, knowing what all went through and transpired, and to now seeing it happening to others across the country and
in horrific ways, like to the extent of bloodshed, right? Like, I am so glad and always grateful that what we went through, even if they were clearly very hateful towards us as their neighbors, that hurts. Even so, we didn't really experience the loss of our life like Renée could or Alex Pretti. And then can I ask you about this too? Because we were at the same protest, Sergeant Van Lant, the officer who shot and killed Devon Bailey, we protested outside his house, which was extremely controversial, right? They called it a riot, which was also a lie. I would like to check in with you, because what's been important to me to say during this time is that the people who were recently killed by ICE, those dynamics are the very same ones that we were out in the street protesting during Black Lives Matter summer. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's truly an unfortunate situation. I think, people have their First Amendment rights to assemble and speak what they think is okay. I don't think it needs to go into the hands of bloodshed and people's lives being lost, just for them speaking something different than what you believe. And I think that's kind of been an interesting concept in America in the last couple of years, is how do we actually cope with other people's differences of views,
the ability to have dialogue
without trying to, harm the other person. I mean,
right.
A lady being in her car trying to move out of the way to get out of whatever situation that she believes herself or anyone else is in danger of. I mean, that's her right to protect herself. And I mean, if that was her getting away and leaving out of the scene to not obstruct anybody else, then that was her right. But then for her to be killed in that form or fashion, I think is, it's shameful, honestly. I mean, to see it in
it's certainly
real time.
Not democracy.
No, not at all.
The case is about the First Amendment as well as the Fourth Amendment, which is a right to privacy, because data and information is such a huge factor in this surveillance nation that we live in, and how ICE may be working with face recognition software and AI and all these really significant concerns. So I've always, been compelled to tell this story, because I do truly believe that this case may set some really critical precedents with regard to those concerns that are presenting right now. It's a civil rights case, and I'm really proud of that too. And so
a lot of people's civil rights are truly on the line right now, all across the board, and I think that's something that we've, I wouldn't say forgotten about, but we forget how it occurs, and then what the longevity of that entails for a lot of people. Right now, unfortunately, people are losing their lives for speaking about people's civil rights and their ability
and it's
to be
happened
human.
before,
And
actually,
it's happened before.
in this country's history.
And not to say, you know, as older folks say, nothing new under the sun, but the reality is, you know, what changes when it goes, you know, dark or goes to midnight and then the sun comes back up again, and we still, you know, the same people, or are we actually, you know, trying to make a difference for each other instead of, you know, tearing each other down or literally being killed for, you know, protecting people and making sure that folks were feeling safe. I mean, even to hear the Alex Pretti being an ICU nurse for our veterans. And, you know, I'm not military myself, so I can't speak necessarily on that, but to a person that was in public service of care for people that have put their lives on the line for a lot of things and have been lucky to come back and still give back in ways that they're able to. I think it's unfortunate to see that, you know, the highest of the law would go that far to take out someone that was just trying to do their right of caring for someone to make sure that they felt protected, you know, whether it was in an office, you know, in a nursing caring facility, or if it was out, you know, in the community, in the public.
In the street.
Yeah, speaking your right. And we're truly in a crossroads right now of what is the correct way of, you know, speaking out and protecting someone for their civil rights.
Yeah,
you know,
it's threatened. It's threatened. And I think that's, you know, what's compelling a lot of us to run for public office. And so would love for you to touch on, you know, helping people understand why, like, school board elections are important. And I think this is another good layer to it, is that, you know, technically school boards are nonpartisan. And this is some silly bullshit. Like, politics has a lot of silly bullshit, and I can say that because it's my podcast on the internet. So part of that to me is the fact that there are municipal races, school board races that are nonpartisan on paper, and they're absolutely are partisan, and it matters a lot, and it has to do with charter schools and for-profit, like, education. Go off, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of roles that play into that. I mean, the dark money is a big thing that we hear a lot about in a lot of campaigns across the board, whether they're partisan or nonpartisan. And I think even for school boards, like you said, on paper, it seems neutral because it's just names.
Well, you don't have an affiliation on the ballot.
To it. But then when you go deeper into, obviously, you know,
look at the money, follow the money,
and everything that they're getting the resources for, you kind of ask yourself, what is their true intention, you know, of running for the school? Is it for making profit or creating a name for yourself? I mean, we've seen in the last years past a couple of school board members run for other offices outside of, you know, nonpartisan elections that you do have to put affiliation to your name.
Right.
And
so
I worry like, that, you know,
pretty clear
we're
in that
not really
case.
We're not really committed to staying the nonpartisan route. It's truly out there now. I mean, even with my race that happened with the mailers that went out, that was all dark money from out of Denver and probably other places that had, you know, private donors that would give money. Don't know who they are. Don't know what their
that's what dark money is. For the record, dark money is like money from usually organizations that refuse to disclose their donors. It's that simple, because I've been very sus, as the kids say. Right, I'm closer to 40, so I don't know. Tell me if I can't go there, Charles. Because you're 26 now. 26 now, yes. So tell me, what's sus to me is when candidates get upset if you ask them if they take dark money. I'm like, it's not a complicated question, actually.
No, not at all. I think, you know, you should. I mean, that's a part of the process of being a candidate. Going into a potential elected office is to be transparent about, you know, who are you talking to?
Well, ideally,
where's your money coming
that's
from?
the choices that are on your ballot. Do you want a transparent candidate or not? You can actually draw the line. There's some clear lines sometimes. So tell us more.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, starts with morale, because I mean, when I ran for the school board this last year, I wasn't by myself. I was actually on a slate with two other people.
Fall 2025 for people who don't maybe remember, elections happen all the time. It's actually like all the time.
We have midterms coming up in November. We just recently had our school board, city council, any special election seat that was open in November this last year.
County Commission 5 had a special election.
And it was interesting to see, the other opponents that we win against, they were backed by very big money from Republicans.
Yeah.
Jeff Crank endorsed them.
Yeah.
They had a lot of established members here from the county.
Nobody likes Jeff Crank.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
if you think that endorsement helps you.
To say that it goes that far in a nonpartisan race to get endorsed.
By your Congress, your member of Congress.
And not even your own local elected officials. I think that also tells a big sign, too. Even for me, like the endorsements I did receive from most folks were all local officials that neighbors that are in our District 4, District 11, or their representatives.
I'm sensitive about endorsements because I don't like to treat it like a popularity contest. And like you said, what I think is so important, like for the listeners at home, playing the game, is that I think it's weird when people have like this long endorsement list of just like names of random people from everywhere, and I'm like, why would someone in Colorado Springs care what this person from what is one of them in my case, like thinking of the race, I think it was Boulder, which is like sometimes in Colorado Springs I feel like, oh, Boulder wants it, then I don't, like attitude from some people, right? So what do you think of that element?
Yeah, I think, when you're running races, depending whether it's, I could understand, like, if you're running for, the state house or Senate, you need those collaborations because you're working with multiple people across the state of Colorado. But when you're focusing on, your local community, it's the best interest to get people that, that work in your community, that represent your community, whether that's nonprofit, whether that's your local House or Senate representative, whether that's your local city council, whether that's a potential county commissioner or school board, people that really are in the day-to-day with your local members that you can go to the grocery store and see them and say hello, or you guys might be in passing at an event. Like you're in the know of what's happening in your community.
Maybe work together.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that kind of helped me with my endorsements. It was people that I've known not only personally, but I've helped them out in ways, whether it's them running for office or just giving back, just in general. And I think that's where the true support and camaraderie actually makes effect, because it's people that not only do you trust, but that you can get things done with and have resources, or even call on them if you ever need questions about things. And I think that's the important part about running races, is getting behind people that not only that you can trust,
you're actually constituency.
That's actually representing in your community in case you're so busy out there doing your job as an elected official.
You got to delegate a little bit.
You have to have some people out there that are kind of
to other volunteers, because this is all volunteer.
Yeah, it is. Like, it literally is. I mean, like I said, for D11 being in a volunteer position now, getting a stipend, it's cool that they recognize that this opportunity is a lot bigger. I mean, representing 22,000 kids, that's a lot for a volunteer.
It really is.
And taking that on and make sure that kids really get the education that's needed and graduating on time as well.
I think it's so special, and that's why it's like very chilling to me that the majority of public service elected office positions do not pay a living wage, if they pay at all. And this includes like those, unique jurisdictions like water districts and all those other things which manage like critical infrastructure for people. Like water is life. So, I don't mind pointing out to people that really, like in my race, county commission, that is what I would say one of the few, if not only, elected local office positions where you get a healthy, I wouldn't say thriving, because things are so economically inequitable. What is that, thriving at this point? But you get a living wage at the county commission. And like, I was really sickened by my Republican predecessor who got that salary plus another salary for 6 months, and the commission, didn't say anything about it. It's how do you feel about this element of like fighting dark money, fighting these sometimes lies and ideologies that are just toxic, with regard to the element that I think there's a dynamic in leadership, which you look at the administration in the White House, right? But especially as a leader, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And as someone with some power and responsibility, that is something to me that would guide my decision making every day. Yeah. But we see a lot of the opposite.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reality, because most people would say that, they would think for themselves and they would put their best interests forward. But as we know, in a lot of races, people get bought out by special interest groups that, have set agendas to, vote on certain issues or, support certain agendas that will help whoever benefit from that, and I think it goes back to the morals of what are you actually in this position for, and I think that's something that a lot of people, no matter what position they're running in, they should ask themselves all the time.
Seriously.
Why running? Because I think...
What's your why?
Yeah, because I was actually meeting with the lady, and she asked me, she was like, well, are you going to run for something else after this? I was like, no, I think this might be it. I was like, I think public service, I think, you do your 4 years, you make the best of what you can, and then honestly, it should be the next person.
That's cool. Yeah.
I don't think that, and people always say, you'll get the bug to go run for other stuff. I'm just like, I don't see myself as a person that wants to go higher than where I'm at. I think the community is the closest impact you could probably get outside of being, in Washington and on the TV and things like that. I mean, this is the closest where I can actually talk to parents, meet community members, hear their stories and concerns without saying, I'll come back to you during the weekend or when I have time, and actually be intentional about what actually matters. And I think that's another big thing too is, people use this to line themselves up for special interests. I mean, like I said, we have a person on our board currently trying to run for a House seat. And we've had someone run for city council, and it's like, is your ethics actually here?
Where's your head really at?
Yeah, is it actually here for the kids, the teachers, and the education actually get improved and not to where it's at now? Yeah. Or is it, just to, move yourself up in a seat, which we've obviously seen county commissioner, one of former board members got appointed, now elected into that position.
My opponent, Lauren Nelson. Feel free to say anything else you want about her, Charles Johnson, because she is the former D11 treasurer of the board, right? Yep. Yes, I look forward to engaging with Lauren because she's the one who won the special election in November 2025. And I don't know if you've noticed, maybe this is breaking news here, is that there was a challenger to Lauren Nelson, Vicky Tompkins, last fall. I did see that. And we'll have a repeat this primary for the Republicans. Vicky versus Lauren.
No, it will definitely be something. I'm curious to see if that still plays out the same way it did this last round.
I am as well.
So something different.
We'll all be watching, ladies. Yeah.
I'll definitely be paying attention. I mean, there's a lot of great elections this upcoming midterms.
2026 is... Can I ask you something? This is a tough one to me because I just feel like it's a pointed question, but I feel really strongly like we are going to have 2026 elections. Like, I'm the candidate that's going to be there, and I will fucking make sure that my race is proceeding. And I'm really grossed out recently. Like, literally, I think this happened within the last 8 hours or 24 hours, that basically the White House's press secretary said, I can't guarantee ICE isn't going to be outside polling stations. And I'm like, more low-key threats. Tell me, I'm going to check in with you about that.
I mean, I've heard on social media and seen videos of that speech and announcement. And, I mean, I think we were in a similar time this last time with Trump when, we were going to the ballot box for midterms in his first round, and, he threatened polling stations and said that there was fake bomb threats and things like that. And, I wouldn't put it past him that he would try something like that again, knowing the momentum that people have been having the last couple of special elections.
And I'm not saying I'm like a blue no matter who person. I'm really not. But let's just take our wins where we can, people. Okay,
we're winning in a lot of key areas locally and at the state level and federally to to make sure that democracy is still intact somewhere down the line into the future.
Did you ever foresee in the year 2026, again, with the context where we came from, where we were called domestic terrorists before it was cool, did you foresee in the year 2026, it was not on my bingo card that everyone would be like, ICE out, abolish ICE? I did not see this coming.
No, not at all. But I do think about back to 2020.
It's hard not to
being
think
in
about.
the community to tell people eventually, you're going to have to talk to your own family members and a community that you might not always get along with about what's going on, and to think that we're here at this time now and people are, chanting those words. You're seeing students walk out. You're seeing communities band together more than ever before. I think it's interesting to show that, we always might say we might have differences, but the unity, I think, will always be in, like, the togetherness and being for your neighbor no matter what, because we all could be on that side of the situation, no matter if we're the most wealthiest person in the world or if we're barely making it by with a paycheck. And so I think people's reality hopefully is kind of coming back down to them, like, that could have been me, or that could be me as the next person, and what do I need to do to not only protect myself but help others to be in the know about things and how to find better resources for themselves. And I think that's what a lot of people are also running for public office for too, is to know that there are people that are willing to stand up for,
oh my gosh, yes,
whatever's going on, whether it's in education, county commissioner, state legislator, city
because
council.
it takes all those levels of government and then some. And to me, like, why we originally connected back in, like, this is, really 2020, is like community building. And at the time, for sure, in that moment, it was building community around saying, like, stop killing our people, and, like, that is what it is. And I feel like, especially Black and brown, minority communities, it's like, we just keeps it real. Like, we really can't afford to bullshit about things. And that's why, a representative government is having more of us in office. And I'm super proud to, potentially be, I will be manifesting the first, under 40 woman of color ever. And then the first Democrat in more than 50 years. It's breaking one party Republican rule. And the coolest part, kind of segueing into election 2026, checking in on that too, is for me, like, we work together as a community. Like, you were at the public session for our county, in our county commission district, to get this fair map. And it's like, I love the way you talked about it, like, very optimistically. Like, I call myself, a relentless millennial optimist, because how can you run for public office otherwise? It's pretty brutal what you're up against. And, David versus Goliath isn't really new to us. I feel like been there, done that. And people doubting us, also not new.
It's nothing new. I think it was just in a different way of approaching it.
The volume's a little turned up. That's not my favorite.
I think they spent more money this round of really making it the point than the actual
so sad.
intention.
What a waste of money. Like, they could give that to the kids.
Man, that was a big thing that we said too during then, was like, that was a lot of money to spend on mailers for neighbors and people all over the city, literally, to get it in their mailbox. I mean, literally everyone that I've talked to literally received it. I was like, man, that's a lot of money to go in the mail. That could have been spent anywhere else.
It really is. It's a lot of money. And it's funny, I thought about it. I was like, oh, I didn't get it. But I'm Harrison or HD too. And I'm honestly really glad I didn't get it, because it would, just piss me off so bad. And before, I think, because we got time, this is why I like a long format broadcast, is, help people maybe check in or understand what's important at the school board level right now. Like, so many things have changed and it's noisy. There's a lot going on. So funding and, like, the state legislatures in session. And
they've been in session for 13 days. We just had our visit with our current representative for the district about the state legislature, and we just got some bills to look at and kind of look over for our next work session to talk more about funding. That's That's definitely
the number one. It
issue.
always is capitalism. Like that's where we're at. Taxes,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
the school board exists. I love to emphasize this point for people. It's just like, what does this elected official do? Like it's random. Mostly, it all has to do with like representation. Like you're paying your taxes, so you get to elect someone representing how you spend. How it's spent.
And it also plays off, the population growth of the district as well, how many students are in the school, per pupil funding, and that's how you get the resources. And the MLOs that kind of help maintain a lot of the projects and things that are going on.
What's that? You said MLOs?
Mill levy override.
Oh, yes. Come on, man. We got to spell that out for the people. Because here's where it's like, this is the challenge, one of the challenges of public office, because personally, I love to get really wonky.
Yeah.
It's easy to do, and that's why people like us, go for it. But I also feel like people kind of scold me sometimes when I get like, you sound like a politician. I'm like, well, actually, that's the job. Like, our job is to talk about the mill levy override, because give people some perspective on that's related to TABOR, which is the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights here in Colorado. And it's all sorts of super effed up tax stuff at the state level. And I will say it's Republicans' fault. And, Charles and I were like in grade school or middle school when TABOR was passed.
Yeah.
So actually elementary maybe for you, Charles. It was the 90s. Sure. Oh my gosh.
Probably way before
No, wait,
then,
you weren't born.
Yeah, I wasn't even born then.
Gosh.
So.
Oh, the math.
This is like
actually, I don't
through.
remember when TABOR was, so we'll fact check. But point being is that Republicans messed it up forever ago. So how are we working around it, Charles, at the school board level?
Yeah, so as I'm still learning the position, they talked a lot about the School Financial Act, which kind of helps us divvy out what certain percentage from the state comes down to us as a local district and what we can spend. And so we kind of are basing a lot of our spending
formula,
off of that. Yeah,
right?
It's a set of a formula to be able to kind of help us negotiate where are we spending our money, how much are we spending, and over time, what is that debt or cost going to look like, because we all don't stay on the board forever.
Right.
I think it's
term limited.
Yeah, term limited to 8 years. You get a 4-year election term twice.
Yeah.
So 8 years total. And so we kind of, each
commission
year,
too.
Yeah. Yep. Each year we get our beginning of the year budget, and then we also get our mid-year budget. And so right now we're kind of in our mid-year budget, reviewing over the first semester of the district before the board changed, and kind of figuring out, where are we spending our money? How is this helping students? Like we actually asked for a contingency fund of $1 million to give back for a before and after school program. And we didn't know how that was going to get divvied out. But when we went to the DAC meeting, they ended up telling us that
What's DAC?
District Accountability Committee. And so that's a set group of teachers, parents of students in the district, and students that attend the schools, and some community alumni that will come together, that will sit on different subcommittees like budget, calendar.
And this is all volunteer.
Yeah, it's all volunteer. Everything is all volunteer throughout this district. And so it's nothing, they're not getting paid anything. They just truly care about what's going on.
Doing a public good.
Yeah. They just care about what's going on in their schools or local community, and just wants to give back. And a lot of these people have been there since I've been going to school. So just to see the commitment to wanting to help each generation as they go on.
That's
beautiful. I think it's a really cool opportunity, and just to kind of hear their stories of generations of kids going through the district and their time going to different schools.
It really matters.
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. And I think that's the real cool part about being in the district board, is really seeing the commitment that people want to put themselves in, whether that's being an educator, bus driver, janitor, a part of the DAC, even your school accountability
Those cafeteria folks, love them. Oh my God, their job is hard, actually.
Yeah. It takes in a lot. And
costs are rising. They've got to feed a lot of kids at once.
And a big thing that that hopefully will be helpful going into the legislature, we create our own legislative agenda that we either support or oppose different bills that go through the legislature, and I helped put in support for public employees to make sure that they, have protection for themselves as representatives of the district, and they're not getting, funneled with their paychecks or things like that. And so I know at the state legislature, I don't know the bill off the top of my head, but I know Manny Rutinell and Lorena Garcia are doing
Lorena.
Working protective
Shout out.
rights. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to monitor that a little bit more and figure out what that looks like, and maybe see how can we enact that somewhat in policy for us in the district, because
Yeah.
we currently don't have the master agreement anymore in the district, which was a
Can
52-year.
unpack that?
Yeah.
52 years of history.
Yeah.
2 sentences. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. It has to do with teachers union labor,
Yeah.
right? So can you give people a little context about that master agreement you were mentioning?
Yeah, so it's a 52-year master agreement that was once in place before the last year's board repealed it, but it pretty much, gave protection to teachers, ESP, specialists, folks all across the district that, felt that they needed their rights protected in case of, neglect
A union
of labor.
to collectively speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to have their back, because, wage theft is a big thing. Workers' compensation rights is also...
Wage theft is
Yeah.
actually the biggest crime,
Yeah.
not any other category, just to make a point.
Yeah, and that affects people's daily livelihood, from what they eat, where they live, how they're able to adjust their living, even to provide for their students, because a lot of teachers use that wage and benefits to help provide for students that might not
They buy
have.
their own supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
teachers
so
are awesome.
It's unfortunate that, this great bargaining agreement got funneled away. The union's not gone, but the bargaining agreement to meet at
Yeah.
the table to kind of have that conversation, whether you agree or disagree, to say that teachers, no matter their background or position, have
Which
a fair
is
right to
So
speak up.
tragic.
Yeah,
That's why,
truly is.
it truly is. And you can, I'll call it unfair, right? Like, I'm on the record as a county commission candidate that I would absolutely support our county employees' right to collective bargain.
Yeah.
And, my future colleagues on the commission have thus far, filed lawsuits to limit that. And so I want to be that voice, that our community has to have, which is that we do support labor folks and their right to collective bargain. And so the good news, another point of emphasis, right, is that the teachers union is not gone.
Yeah, no.
So if you don't mind, and I guess we got to get them on the show too, right? But, is there anything from the school board perspective that you can share, in terms of next steps? Because the tragedy there is that they didn't have to get rid of that agreement, right?
No.
And all it did was take away what I would consider an agreement of professional respect, which
Yeah.
is that we have the ability to dialogue. And so how is the school board now navigating that
Yeah.
change?
So after they let go of the master agreement, they enacted a school handbook that is by the
Okay.
board's regulation. And so at any time and moment, them or the superintendent can go in there and, change up different bylaws and regulations depending on your position of the district, and to be able to kind of, control what boundaries you do have and what you can speak out against and what you can't.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because you really just don't know at any moment in time anything can flip on a dime, and people are kind of,
That's
lost
not
in the
how to
moment.
build trust, is what I would
it's
say.
not. And I worry about that, because I just wonder, how much oversight do we really put into a handbook, especially with the autonomy that we can change at any moment.
It's
any
very
day of the
prescriptive
time
and
that we
kind of
think is,
yeah.
unfair. And I tell a lot of people too, there's, now that we have 2 currently union-backed members on the school board, there's a chance in 27 to get potentially 2 more, because like I said, there's 7 of us. We're all individual board members, but it only takes
Right.
4 votes to pass. We currently have 2. If we can potentially get 2 more, there's possibility and hope that the master agreement can come back faster than what people assume or think is happening, because like I said, these seats are 4-year positions. So me and Leanne are in there until 2029. So we still have 3 more years or so to kind of figure out what's best. And 27, I think, is similar to 26, a great opportunity for folks that care about labor, education, and students' rights to be able to, step up and say that they deserve a voice at the table. Because we always don't have to agree on what the process looks like, but we definitely deserve the conversation to make sure that we're hearing both sides. Because I think when we're only saying that we know what's right as a board and not hearing what the teachers or faculty are dealing with, then I think we're doing a disservice to say that that we know everything and that we're here for the right reasons. And I'm glad that, you know, we all get school priority lists to go visit schools and talk with teachers and stuff throughout our time before graduation. And so I've had the opportunity to go to some schools, Bijou School, which is an alternative school. Now it used to be junior and senior led, but now it's freshman through senior. So it helps kids with credit recovery and people that are kind of, you know, not going the traditional route. I actually graduated from the Bijou campus, so it was a pretty cool opportunity to go back and talk with them.
I love graduation season.
It's coming up soon, so I'm excited.
I know.
I get two
Time
schools.
flies.
I get the Bijou School and Achieve Online, so it's kind of cool to get two different types of alternative schools that are different from traditional, and the kids' background and what kind of helped them get their high school diploma compared to the traditional route. And so to kind of relate to them on that, it's pretty cool, and for them to have the youngest elected school board member to be at their graduation, I think it's pretty cool for them too.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and so it's cool to kind of hear the student stories as well. I got to meet a lot of kids in student council and, you know, hear about like what their concerns are outside of like the Yonder pouches, but how can they get better nutrition with lunch, and how can they get a better curriculum to study that's better understandings, like stuff that really truly does matter to them outside of what people just assume that kids are doing. I mean, you know, kids have their moments and their flaws, but they really do care about.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, but the
especially kids.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, they're young and just trying to figure it out.
Their
honestly.
brains are still developing.
Yeah, but you could really see the passion and care about, like, they really do want to see some type of change, like with some format of their school, whether it's nutrition, their curriculum, longer school hours, which a lot of kids have been saying, surprisingly.
Really?
I might have not said that, but
interesting.
I mean, it's cool that they want to, you know, stay in school longer to be able to study, to be able to really focus on the work because they feel like they don't have enough time.
Hopefully that means it's a safe place. They want to be there, you know?
They've even said longer lunch periods because they feel 35 minutes is not enough to, you know,
with them, I'll
sit
be
down.
honest.
Yeah. After 4, I agree to that too, that after 4 classes, you can't really,
a little bit.
Yeah, you really can't eat food in 35 minutes, then go right back to learn something, and then think that kids are not wanting to get up and move around after the food is settled.
I get to the 2 to 3 p.m. like, oof, I crash bad. So totally.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good ideas that I'm open to definitely considering to hopefully the other board members to look into and really hear them out about like some of the stuff, because it's not all bad ideas. It's actually stuff that if we really look at it, stuff that we can actually make better.
Truly, and I think that's how a leader in public service elected office really needs to do their job largely, is work with the constituency and understand the lived experience. And sometimes you have lived experience because you live in the district, right? And you're bringing that to the office. But I think it's so critical because that informs your policy making, and you're trying to be of service. Like ideally, government is making people's lives better. I know that's a radical idea.
But that's definitely true. I mean, it is to make the betterment of the students and education in itself, because I mean, we always keep hearing that education's so backlogged and that we haven't done anything to help it. I mean, this is the point in time now to do it, is while you're in there. I mean, you can always complain all you want, but now that you're in there, you kind of have to do the work of it and really you know, making those tough decisions. But like you said, being in there and hearing their stories and seeing it firsthand of like what they're actually going through, instead of just, you know, looking at a data sheet and paper and then assuming, okay, we're doing this and this is okay, but is this actually the right thing, and can we actually make betterment? Because there's always room for change for everything. It might
change
not
is
be
the only constant. Like you got to keep iterating, innovating for sure. And to your point though, I mean, I think when it comes to working, especially with kids, just like being flexible and understanding, like, man, if we're not like doing some of this for them, then like what are we
here
doing
for?
What are we doing here?
Because I'm actually attending an event with elementary school. They're going to go see the Philharmonic, and so it's pretty cool to kind of know that kids are still going on field trips and going out and about and seeing different entities that they wouldn't see like in their neighborhood or sitting in their classroom every day. And so it's just good that they're out and about, and I definitely will advocate for more field trips for all district members, because I think kids definitely deserve to see what's really going on in the city and how they can get involved in it and not just be staying at home.
Exactly, not staying at home. And I mean, there's even issues of equity that come up there, right? Because we live on the south side or the southeast, and there are neighbor kids who I know, have said, "Oh, I've never been to like Garden of the Gods or Pikes Peak, which I call Tava." And so that to me is profound, and I think it would make sense that hopefully we, especially with new school board leadership, those kinds of issues of equity are, brought back on the table, because that's another change that happened, right? With the old board, they were really quick at dismantling things that like really mattered to the community, including like a quote unquote DEI focus, right?
It was like an equity team group, because I mean admin all have their own positions with like budget, curriculum, and different chief of strategy, things like that. And so they did get rid of that before I got onto the board, and to know that field trips are equity to a lot of people, but most people would agree that it's a great thing for people to do, to get out and about. I think it's unfortunate that they would be so quick to take it away from people, knowing that that's something that many folks don't get. Because I remember when I was growing up, we went to a Challenger Space Center where we got to do space simulations. And we would study for like 2 or 3 months in our science class about the different project. They would give us the rubric and everything, and we would study it before we go on the field trip, take it with us, and we'd actually do like a fake real life simulation, and got to do all the little gadgets and tools and tests and practice what we learned in class. And I always still wonder if kids ever still get to go do that type of hands-on stuff, because you'll be surprised what kids could be influenced by and want to be in their next life when they actually get to see it for themselves firsthand. And I think that's something that
being shown more options
and
than
I think that's something
YouTuber.
That this district can do better at. I mean, we talk about big, bold change. I mean,
that's
it's really about the opportunity for the community, for the teachers and the students to really say, like, not only do I get to experience this, but this is actually changing my life for the better. And I'm all for opportunity and seeing people thrive and grow. And hopefully that's something that others on the board, I don't know what their intentions are, but for me, it's definitely giving the access to folks that don't usually get to see those opportunities or get that chance to really understand what's going on. And
if K-12 is not the place for that, like where is? Absolutely. Love that. Like, I really like to think about it as like a couple of things is in these jobs, they are jobs. When you are in the position of budget stuff, that's not numbers on paper, that's people's lives. Right? And think about it boldly like that. And I really appreciate that. And also, bold in the sense of, to me right now, is seize the opportunity of 2026. And so before, we go on, I want to hit on, as your perspective, again, we've been like politically active on purpose. I've been doing it for about 10 years in this community, and even, engaging and trying to build the Dem county party in spite of itself sometimes. Are you hearing people talk about this, especially as a local elected, that really it's already a historic moment, and that on the Democratic primary side, which caucus is the first week of March, happy reminder, make sure you're there, be square. Charles and I will be there.
I've been getting invited to a lot of people's offices.
Yes. And so the reason why is because the history that's already been made is we have 2 very competitive primaries, and one of them is mine, right? County Commission 5, in that the map is winnable. And we mentioned that is we were in the community group that just organized to fight for this fair map that really ended the gerrymandering of our neighborhood, the southeast side, into one district now with this map. And so that to me is a beautiful thing to see, and I think part of the story to tell. So with the congressional 5, there's how many candidates now? I was counting them. 5, I think.
5, there's 5 or 6, something like that.
Yes.
Because I think there's another lady that's in there. I think she just didn't attend this last.
Oh, really? Okay, see, I didn't know that. And see, that's There's 6 of them now.
Yeah.
Very interesting to me.
It's
I don't know that that has ever happened with that congressional race.
Not that I know of.
Me either. And we've been watching. And also, same thing with the county commission race. I don't know that the Dems have ever had. And what's on top of this is, again, that map. Like, I don't know about the congressional map. Hopefully it's one county, right? I think. And so maybe that makes a difference. But for us, that fair map means like we have a slight margin to win. Like it's quite competitive. And so, I'm not afraid of earning people's votes. And I think it's like what we should emphasize.
Yeah.
So what are you hearing? I like one more. It's called the Battle of Fives right now. With 6 people in that other one, I didn't even realize. So go off.
Yeah, it's very competitive, and I would even relate back to this last nonpartisan local elections to see 6 school board members under the age of 40 and 30 to win across school districts alone itself.
Yeah.
I think that shows the competitiveness and the openness to challenging the status quo from a lot of folks that usually don't run in office seats, like we've said earlier, usually established with money or backing.
Because that's what the system usually forces, and you have to be brave and courageous to be like, whatevs, I've done the David versus Goliath before. Yeah. NBD.
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to be something like that in 26. I mean, the biggest thing I've been hearing is, primaries, and it's just people wanting to challenge to see better change. And I mean, whether it's county commissioner, the CD5 race, or even the state house, I mean, you're seeing people that are willing to
there is a state
challenge
house
ideas.
Yes, there is. Yes.
They're willing to challenge the ideas of something different. And I mean, we had Naomi Lopez who ran for county commissioner by herself, but like you said, we've never seen 3 candidates try to run for one seat in itself. I mean, that just shows that people are eager for something different.
There's interest.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's a good thing, I think...
Mostly, yes.
It's depending on how you look at it. I think for me, being a sports person myself, I think the competitiveness of just hearing people's ideas, and also how do they approach when there's multiple people trying to, vie for one spot. And I mean, I witnessed that for myself. Even though there was 3 seats open, it was 7 people voting.
It was
either a slate
ballot,
or individual, and to people to have that many options, it's like, what are you deciding that, makes your brain say, this is who I'm going to select? Like, how do you process what a good candidate looks like, or what a candidate looks like?
And then there's like...
Because that could always be... It always changes. Like, every day something new pops up, something different happens.
Yeah.
And I think, we're in a time where people just want something that's not the same old, and I think we have a lot
fake.
I
would say fake.
We have a lot of variety of that, and I think I think with you guys and your races, I think it's monumental to pay attention to areas where it is potentially flippable for
that's why there's interest, right? And that's what I say, mostly yes, because it is about intention, and so voters will ideally be able to see that very clearly distinguished among the 3 of us.
No, that is true. People slowly start to stand out after a while. I mean, when you see the ads, the flyers, things that start to go out, you'll be able to tell who's for the community, or who's
I'd like to think so. I got to keep the faith that it is, and I feel like that's what we saw in your race. How about that?
I think that definitely is true. I mean, to even go into a 2-week recount, like, I mean, even still being 2 months in, like, still talking to teachers, still saying congratulations, like, you fought this big fight, like, thank you for putting yourself on the line for us to be able to do that, and
because you very openly were like calling out the end of the master agreement as inappropriate, right?
And supporting, I mean, they asked during the forum, like, do you guys support DEI? I was like, of course. I mean, it's important that we hear people's background stories and learn from that, because we all don't know what we don't know. And if we keep assuming about what we think we know about people, then we're only going to stay in the...
School is the place for that. Yes.
And, and then, I mean, we're talking about teaching kids civil discourse, and they're part of student council and finding their own ways of being involved. I mean, we have to be that example for them, because a lot of these kids didn't even know they can run for school board at 18 in the state of Colorado. And so a lot of these kids that have been preparing themselves and, you know, being the valedictorian, like, this is your opportunity.
If anything, I would say that's
out.
like an appropriate, you know, place for someone who is branching out into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they really want to, you know, challenge their ideas and really see, is this possible, you know, because it might not happen now, but down the road, you never know, you know, what could make that change. And that's what I've been telling a lot of kids, too, is like, you know, don't, whether it's podcasting, student council, you know, protesting, putting up signs, having community conversations, that's just one step further of, you know, making people aware. And
there are many steps
that get people involved to say, like, hey, I never thought about this, or, you know, thank you for bringing up that point. I never would have thought about that unless, you know, you brought that up in that conversation, or you wrote that down in the journal, or whatever it might be, because people's stories truly do matter. And I think people's commitment and time, I think, matters too. I mean, in this last race, you know, to see people come from all different branches, from the Democratic Party to Indivisible to DSA to teachers unions to independents, even some moderate Republicans that were just tired of the BS that's going on in education, that were just like, you know, we want someone that is not, like, they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be open about,
have some integrity.
Yeah, have some integrity of who you are and stand on for what you believe in. I mean, me and my brother talked about, you know, a lot of people will run to talk about, you know, their opponents and what they're bad about, but a lot of people don't talk about themselves, you know, like what they stand for. And I think that
people could have a better approach, I think, in talking more about what you stand for versus, tearing down the other people. And, you know, I think there's a balance with that also comes with in a position to hold each other accountable and be like, what do you stand for? Do you represent integrity? So I'll only add that I am proud, as far as I'm aware, to be the only candidate in my race who can unequivocally call for the abolition of ICE, personally. Just closing it on that. But, well, I think this is the way to, you know, wind it down is it sounds like you are living in your purpose, and that's a beautiful thing.
I tell people I hope I'm doing the right thing. I mean,
that's all we want to do, right? You wouldn't do this. Well, actually, there's other people who have different motives, but for us who have a kinship, we'll say it's to do the right thing. We're trying to do the right thing.
Because I was once in these kids' shoes in the district at one point, not too long ago, actually.
Really?
And, you know, to kind of see. Like, it's just interesting being on the other side now, knowing, like, this is how the board functions to control, like, what goes on in the school. This is how students are actually affected by it. And now to see, like, oh, like, this is how they once made decisions for my life. And, like, here I am now.
Very interesting,
and
isn't
so
it? Yes.
It's like, oh, I hope I don't want to make anything worse.
I better not screw this up.
Yeah. That's pretty much where I'm at. It's like, I don't want to mess up.
Super valid point. And so in addition to the great stuff going on with the school district, what else could you maybe share with folks that is good in your life right now? Because we talked about all those other complicated things. Let's spread some sunshine.
It's going good so far. I think the good thing for me, like I said, I think visiting schools, talking to teachers, students, you know, hearing their stories of why they attended this school, you know, hearing why they're involved in the district, and just kind of getting to know the community more. I think, you know, I was personally so used to, you know, my inner circle of people that I know, and now kind of hearing maybe from people I might not agree with, or maybe just people I just never met before that have had
hearing from way more people.
I mean, and it's interesting too, because it's old, young, in between, and so for me, I'm kind of just taking in all the perspectives and just kind of hearing out, like, you know, is that something that maybe we should be thinking about, or is that something that just, you know, that's just their personal vendetta or investment of what they think should be done? And it's been pretty cool. And I think the opportunities of getting to visit the different schools, I think the cool part that I actually liked about being on the campaign trail was actually being out in the different neighborhoods, like seeing the different parts of the city.
I enjoy canvassing.
That I didn't know about before, because, I mean, the District 11 is very broad.
It is.
Within the scope.
Talking to people. That's probably a good trait to have. Just like talking
I would
to
definitely
people.
say I like talking to people more than being on the phone calls. So if you're
for sure.
a candidate running, definitely knock doors more than phone calls, because I think it's more intentional, and you actually get to really understand where people are actually coming from.
IRL is great.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
Always.
so-
Well, good. Well, I hope you're doing more in addition to school board for yourself,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
As the full human being that you are.
Yeah, outside of
Anyway,
work, too.
Yeah, outside of work. Thank you for spending time with us, Charles. So, episodes of Justice with Jax are recorded as a member of the Studio 809 Podcast Collective at the Next Us Community Co-working Space in downtown Colorado Springs. Remember to ask yourself 2 questions. Who's telling your story, and how are you being the change you want to see in the world today? This is Justice with Jax signing off.